All right, welcome, welcome. If you're new here, welcome. I really hope you find this to be a great use of your time. I know your time is valuable. If you've been here before, welcome back. Fridays are my favorite time of the week. Just sitting with people who are eager to succeed in their role, and that really highlights my week. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos on legal technology talk. So we do upload a few videos a week. So here we go. This week's open coaching is a little different. Normally we dive into a single topic, but today, on the form, when you say you're here, there's a slot in there that says, what do you want to learn at open coachings? So we're going to use those topics to shape our conversation today and cover the areas that matter most to you because you've told us they matter to you. So to kick things off, let's start with one of the most requested topics. And because I'm a numbers guy, I did put the percent of questions that were per topic. So about 23% of the questions were about automation and efficiency. These are some of the questions that you submitted that inspired this topic. How do I create automations for intake and engagement? What are best practices for task management in Lawmatics? How can analytics help improve my automations? And how can I manage my day without jumping between tasks? So think about your own role in the firm for a second. How much of your day is spent on repetitive tasks that could be automated? How much mental energy could you save if those things could just randomly run in the background? And when I say randomly, I mean it's just doing what it does. You don't have to touch it. So the first topic, topic one, is automation and efficiency. And I've boiled these questions down to one question. How can we streamline our daily work using automation from intake to follow-up without losing the human touch? So automation isn't just about speed. It's about creating workflows that actually work for you and your team while keeping personal connections intact. Because remember, we always tell you we never will implement something if it negatively impacts the client experience. So when done right, automations can free up mental space and time so you can focus on the work that requires your judgment, your creativity, or your personal touch. You don't have to just sit there and do data entry. You're much more important to the firm than that. You asked about task management, intake automations, event forms, and AI-driven daily work recommendations. So imagine having triggers that assign tasks automatically or lay out your entire project. And when I say project, I mean like an estate plan. It just lays it out for you. Automated reminders for client follow-ups or dashboards that show exactly where things are getting stuck. These are the kinds of automations and tools that let you focus on meaningful work rather than repetitive, busy work. Let a robot do the busy work and you can do the meaningful work. Remember, let a robot do what a robot can do and a human do what only a human can do. So Lawmatics has some exciting AI features coming out, and I can tell you a little bit about them because they did announce them yesterday. Some are in beta and some are coming to beta. There's one called Qualify AI for lead qualification, auto qualifying your leads, telling you which ones probably will engage and which ones won't. Engage AI is another one they're going to roll out for proactive client outreach as one of the mentioned features. Engage AI, for instance, might be able to identify missing client information, generate a custom form in the background, reach out to the client to gather that information, whether it's to move forward with the plan or to better qualify the client. This is the kind of automation that saves hours, reduces errors, and ensures that nothing falls through the cracks. And I also want to say it gives a standardized, amazing client experience. Everybody gets the same experience. So when they refer to somebody else that their experience was incredible, that person is going to get that same experience. I'm going to also push that into workshops. A lot of people like to change which workshop they teach every week or every month. One of our philosophies is stick to one workshop or have two. And rotate them. So if somebody refers them to that workshop, they're not getting different information. They're getting that exact same experience in that workshop because that other person believed in it, so they referred somebody else to come see that workshop. You don't have to spend your time writing a new workshop every single time you do one or seminar, whatever you call it. So then finally, remember that automation is meant to enhance relationship, not replace them. Using dashboards and KPIs lets you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting to chaos. By combining these systems with intentional human touches, you make your workday smoother and more predictable and way less stressful. You don't come in feeling defeated very first thing in the morning. Now that we've explored automation and efficiency, now let's focus on intake and conversion mastery. So about 12 to 13% of the questions here this week centered around this topic. And this is topic 2, intake and conversion mastery. And I've combined this into one question. What are best practices for building a seamless intake process that turns leads into signed clients? Some of the questions that fall under this topic that came in is, how do you reconnect with a client who hasn't completed their intake form? How do you handle intake when an interpreter is needed? That was a really interesting question, and I do address that. I am going to address that. How can I automate scheduling and confirmations to maximize conversions? So let's talk about them. Intake sets the tone for the entire client journey. Automations can handle confirmations, follow-up reminders, calendar invites, engagement agreements automatically, and form submissions while ensuring clients feel supported. For example, if you use Lawmatics, you can automatically trigger follow-ups for clients who stall in completing forms, or integrate Zoom interpreters directly into the workflow for clients needing language support. And I want to delve into the interpreter thing for a minute because that was a really interesting question. You can have a local person on speed dial for those times. That's always a safe bet. Almost every community has somebody that you can contract as an interpreter, or you can get them on the phone. There's a lot of services that offer that. Zoom has an interpreter feature, which is, I haven't tested it to see the quality of it, but I've had some people say it works pretty well. I know that Android and iPhones also have really robust interpreting AI features as well. I think Apple just released one with the AirPods where it can do live interpretation. I think Android has a similar feature. So there are lots of options for that, and it can be integrated into your process. If they need another language, something can pop up that says, prepare this meeting with an interpreter. So when I talk about this interpreter section, it reminds me that, like school, we don't want to teach you what to think. We're not going to say, this is what you do when you have an interpreter. We want to teach you how to do that and find solutions by thinking outside the box, and many times outside of your comfort zone. So by giving you multiple options, I'm hopefully getting your mind outside of just what it would do into something much broader, that you can use phone interpretation, things like that, and tackle every problem that comes in your firm like that. Think outside the box. Here's a quick freebie for you. One of the biggest missed opportunities we see in law firms is not following up when prospective clients cancel or reschedule a consultation or a workshop. That's another important one. Those people already showed interest. They just hit a scheduling roadblock, or they were nervous about something which held them back from coming to the meeting. A simple automation to re-engage them within 24 to 48 hours and then a drip campaign, that can make a massive difference in your conversion rates of people showing up to meetings and keeping them excited about why they scheduled it. So take a few minutes this week to look at your own process and see where these clients fall off. If you don't have a system for this, schedule a discovery meeting with us. We'll help you set it up so those opportunities don't slip away. That is cash on the table, out the window. We've seen numbers up to $1 million just out the window because of lack of follow-up in these types of scenarios. It can get pretty substantial. Conversion is more than just collecting data. It's building trust and momentum. Automated touches combined with personal follow-ups help leads move smoothly towards engaging your firm. Whoops. My whole screen just blinked for a minute. Um, Even one missed follow-up can slow momentum. By combining thoughtful and smart automation, AI, and engagement, you increase the number of signed clients and make life easier for your team. The increased engagements, I can guarantee, will increase if you're doing these things now, or if you start doing these things now. So, with intake and conversion running efficiently, or ideas are now running through your head, I want to move on to data reporting and KPI. About 12% of you submitted questions here, reflecting a desire to understand how numbers drive decisions and improve firm performance. So before I go any further, Beth, do you have anything on topics 1 and 2?
Just to say that one of the terms that you used in there is brain space, and that has been like kind of a theme reoccurring in the last couple weeks in conversations that we've had in conversations with our teams. That brain space is very important, and it was kind of interesting because it is now coming up in people that we've never mentioned the term brain space. Like in our first conversation, like that is becoming more and more a term out there, and really not having a way to track all this stuff and to see it and not to know that these things are being done. It does really clog up your brain with what needs to be done, and paying attention to brain space in not only yourself but also in the team and your team, and freeing that up for them does is very important, because once you free up that brain space for them, then they can start being creative and they can start thinking of other things and other ways to build your team and improve your processes. So yeah, that was my only thought there, John.
Absolutely, I love that. All right, so data reporting and KPIs. There were several questions, and I boiled it down to how can we actually use data to drive decisions, track KPIs, and improve firm performance? Some of the questions that fell under this were, which KPIs should I focus on? How do I extract and interpret Lawmatics data? And I'm going to expand that to just your data from your CRM or practice management system. And how can I use reports to understand ROI, which is return on investment, and marketing performance? So, data, I like to think of it that it's a story waiting to be uncovered. It's all the components of a self-help book that hasn't been assembled yet. With dashboards and reports, you can identify bottlenecks, prioritize work, and make informed decisions. For example, pulling KPIs from Lawmatics allows you to see where leads stall, which marketing efforts generate the highest ROI, and how your team's performance impacts client experience. How do you do that? Well, you can export data and analyze it in Excel. I mean, that's always one way to do it. That's the hard way. If you're with Lawmatics, we have a powerful report that can run Lawmatics reporting in Microsoft Power BI that we've built out. You can have all the data in the world, but you have to be able to extract it, use it, and analyze it, and then strategize growth plans with it smartly. Um, Once you understand your numbers, then you can connect them to automation. A client who hasn't completed an intake, great, trigger a follow-up email automatically. A task that's overdue, great, notify the responsible team member. If you're a um, office administrator, office manager, we've done things where if the task isn't completed within a day or two of it being due, that it can also notify you as well that this wasn't done, to start seeing where things are stalled, and maybe bring some coaching to different team members. This turns data into action, improving client outcomes while saving your team time and brain space. That's kind of my buzzword today, um, because we all need more brain space. So before we go into topic 4, Beth, do you have anything on topic 3 of data reporting and KPIs?
Yeah, so being able to get that data out is, of course, very important. A lot of times, and this goes back to like what I hear in there. And a lot of times what I hear is, well, we know we need to track this, but we don't really kind of know how. Um, and we're keeping track of this. The worst one, the one that like gives me nightmares and causes little tremors is uh we're keeping track of this in a spreadsheet. So really, when you have a report that you can run and you can get, and I know our report is a little has a lot of data in it, and there's a lot of it that maybe you don't look at. That it's just collecting and it's keeping that data and it's there. And if you don't want to look at like which um, follow up is most effective. If you don't want to look at that now, that's fine. It can still collect that data. And I think that's where a lot of people run into an issue is I know I need to collect data on this, and they don't put the groundwork in to be actually collecting that data so that when they want to look at it, it's available for them to look at. And that's really what it is, not diving into what I need to see right now, but actually what can I see on the big scale and start collecting that data now, especially if you have a system that will collect that data for you and let it do the heavy lifting for you so you can go look at that in the future. That's just my
Yeah,
only thought.
I love that. And I want to give you a very specific example that Beth and I were talking about this week from a client a long time ago,
Hmm.
um, that they were surprised their conversion rate to sign up was at 27%.
Right.
They thought they were doing so much better. So Beth and I, the diggers, we just got into it. We looked at the report and we saw, okay, their leads aren't the problem. They're getting plenty of leads. They have a
Mhm.
really high conversion from initial contact to workshop. So that's not a problem with the intake. From workshop to consultation, it fell off a little bit. And then after consultation, it fell off dramatically. So we pinpointed it to two things. Something's happening in the workshop first. Maybe it's not a great closing to encourage people to sign up um, for a consultation. Maybe it's bad leads coming in, but also the workshop is doing what it's supposed to be doing by weeding people out that aren't qualified. So that's doing what it needs to do. But then the dramatic drop in the work in the consultation to sign, that's going to be on the person doing the consultation if it's the attorney. And
Right.
that's kind of what we drilled it down to. Um, and then we can look back further and say, okay, are they still qualified? So the ones that didn't sign up, let's look, are they a qualified lead? If they're not, how did they slip through? And we can tighten up the process. Do you see how you have to think outside the box and you can start looking at all these different things of what affects what to dial in how to adjust your process, what's working, what isn't, what's broken, and what's just running at full bore and being super successful? We always
Right.
say
Eh,
just because you have a process, do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Find the little chunk that's not working. What was that, Beth?
right. And a big part of that is when you get data, look at that data, and if it's shocking and your first instinct is that has to be wrong, by all means, ask questions. Just about every time we deliver a report to somebody, that is what I hear is there is no way my conversion rate's that low. That there's no way. That is absolutely wrong. And we go through and we double check numbers and we double check formulas and we run all this stuff and we will show you how that is correct and just, understand that that happens a lot. And it's okay to ask and question it and make sure that your mind is, I would rather you do that because then your mind knows that yeah, that data is correct. I was just deceiving myself, which is hard for some people to understand. But you can take that then and know where you want to go with it and how you can make improvements from there. So, yes, it is okay to question numbers and stuff in reports, so that you do understand the formulas and how you got to that point. Yeah.
And we've learned one of the biggest things why people are not reporting is because they're afraid to see the reality.
Yes, that too.
And that's okay. I get it. But once you face the reality, you can fix it. It may be better than you expect. Let's say it's amazing. Okay, let's go from amazing to extraordinary now. You can always grow, but you can't grow unless you know where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why reporting is so important, even if you're just tracking the number of leads in a month, the number of people that attend a workshop, the number of consultations, and the number of engagements, and seeing your conversions between those four things. That is going to give you so much power in your decision making, that you're just going to start to want more numbers and more numbers and more numbers, to improve your firm. All right, topic 4. A lot of people ask specifically about Lawmatics. 16% of the questions focus specifically on using it effectively. So I've boiled this down into one question. What are the most valuable ways to customize and integrate Lawmatics for your firm's workflow? Some of the questions that fell under this topic from you guys was, how can I add a scheduling link to an email? Why does Lawmatics create duplicate matters? How do I integrate AI features into daily workflows? Lawmatics is more than a CRM. Um, I would say 95% of our clients on Lawmatics use it as a full practice management system, because it can absolutely do that. But it's a central hub connecting intake, task management, follow-ups, and reporting. It's the center of your tech ecosystem. Or if you use another platform, that platform is the center. You have to have a center and then all your branches around that come to the center. Lawmatics specifically integrates seamlessly with Decision Vault, which in turn syncs with things like gavel drafting, wealth counsel, and all these other things. This is letting client information flow automatically into drafting programs and eliminating duplicate data entry. You are too important to the firm in your role to spend your entire day completing data entry that can be automated and synced. And I did mention this before, but I'm going to cover it again, that the exciting announcement from Lawmatics was Qualify AI and Engage AI. I want you guys to get really excited about AI, and remember that it's not there to take over your role. It's there to enhance your role. We want to make your life easier so you can be a human and do human things and build those client relationships that you get so busy that then you need to hire once you've offloaded all of this mundane stuff to the robots. But this is to make workflows even smarter. Again, Qualify AI helps prioritize leads based on likelihood to convert, which leads to chase or not. That's a beta thing they're doing right now. And coming into betas, they said pretty soon, is Engage AI is going to detect missing information, create the form, automatically engage with clients to get that information, to qualify leads or to move them forward in the process. But Lawmatics is delving headfirst into AI in a smart way, because they've mastered the automation part already. That's on autopilot. These features are going to save hours weekly, reduce errors, and ensure a smoother client journey. Quick note, and I'm going to talk about it at the end a little more. Next week, excuse me, I am going to host a workshop. It's going to be on Thursday, and I'll give you the link in just a moment. But it's going to be a high level Lawmatics basics showcase. I'm going to go through and show you how to use Lawmatics. It's free, it's open to anyone, and we're going to dive into what Lawmatics can do and the best way to use it. So you make sure you register if you want to attend, even if you don't have Lawmatics. Come see what it can do, compare it to your current system, and see which one is best for your firm. Because I'll tell you, Lawmatics is moving fast and furious into automation and AI. Um, so now let's focus on connecting multiple tools. I had several questions about the practice management system, CRM, Leap, Decision Vault, and other connected platforms. So I boiled this down into a simple question. How do we tie tools like Leap, Decision Vault, and Lawmatics together for a smooth client team experience? Some of the questions specific were, we're updating to Leap soon. How do we integrate it? Best ways to customize Decision Vault for FWI, I believe it's SIMI, and design sheets to go to drafting gurus. And how do we manage referrals and contacts across Action Step and Lawmatics? So first, I want to start with Leap has limitations in automations and integrations, which is why we focus on Lawmatics and Decision Vault. Decision Vault streamlines the intake to drafting workflows, eliminates duplicate data entry, and reduces errors. When it's connected to Lawmatics, client info flows automatically from forms to drafting programs like Gavel or Wealth Counsel. So we don't really support Leap just for that reason, because it's just lacking the newer technology that's really driving the new modern law firms or traditional law firms that really want to get into the modern age of engaging with clients in a smart way. Managing referrals across platforms. Um, that was one of the questions. It's doable, but you need a middleman software to pass the information, like Zapier or Zapier, however you want to say it. We don't recommend using two platforms for client referral management. It can be done in one system. The less information that you have to pass around, the cleaner and smoother everything can run. By connecting tools thoughtfully, your firm can scale, maintain quality, and deliver a seamless client experience. This is the foundation of a firm ecosystem for technology that supports your team and your clients efficiently. Beth, I'm going to go through one more and then I'm going to ask just to make sure we get through these 8 topics.
Sure.
So, tools are essential, but people are the core of your firm. So, now we're going to talk about team performance and leadership because about 12% of you submitted questions here. I boiled it down to how can leaders build accountability, buy-in, and growth across the team, even when people are busy or burned out. Some of the questions were, how do I onboard new staff using SOPs? Um, how do I motivate a team that seems too busy or too reserved? How can I prevent burnout and maintain engagement? So leadership isn't just assigning tasks. It's creating the environment where people feel ownership and purpose and encouraged. Dr. Carey, she presented a few weeks ago. Go on our YouTube. Um, it's just youtube.com/at Ettinger Tech. Dr. Carey, she emphasized the power of small gestures, celebrating wins, clarifying priorities, and following up thoughtfully to significantly improve engagement and reduce stress with your team. Encouraging learning and growth is another multiplier. Encouraging your team to attend things like this every Friday, these open coaching sessions. Tie training directly to daily work, show tangible results, and follow up one-on-one. Recognize strengths and support passions. When team members feel invested, they adopt new processes more easily, they embrace change, and they contribute to a stronger firm culture. And I'm actually going to say the most important is the team morale and their mental health has improved. All right, Beth. So any
Yeah.
comments on the last three?
Yeah, so I'm going to start right here. Many of you know my background is in lean management and process improvements. And in a lean management situation, um, one of the most important things that was drilled into me in all of that training was, of course, buy-in and buy-in from your lowest level employee, like buy-in from the janitor. Like, because when you get that buy-in from those people, they are the ones that are going to keep going. You're going to stop having that needing to have discourse in there because it's going to go away. And really getting that buy-in is very important. So how do you do that? Well, you need to make it valuable to them. If there's no value to them, there's no buy-in. If you're telling me, well, here, now you need to go do this, For what? What is it going to get me? And that's human nature. I mean, that's not somebody being, you know, bad. That is just human nature. That's how we are. So really it's being able to demonstrate to someone what the benefit to them is. And that is how you get that buy-in. That is how you get that. The other thing that like popped out on me in this is SOPs. There was a time, and I'm going to reveal my age, where when you started a job, you got a employee handbook, and they expected you to go home that night and read that employee handbook from start to finish, and all the SOPs of your job. Um, oh, it's not like that anymore. There are teams still doing that, and for what? Because you now have a person that is spending so much time keeping your SOPs updated and keeping all of this stuff and not saying you don't need SOPs because you absolutely do. But um, don't print a handbook anymore because by the time you get it back from the printer, it's not right. Like there is everything is changing so fast and moving so forward so fast in a lot of things that those things change. So allow to have that flexibility. And really, and if you are very big on having SOPs and having um, if you're using a platform to manage those or whatever else, always have a system in place to be constantly updating them because they change so often and so quick. So that is very important with that. And then, of course, when you're doing trainings, record, 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 so that you do have videos to be able to train your new people on. That is always very important. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to
Yeah.
highlight that when you work with us, we record everything and we
Yes.
drop it in your client portal. You have every meeting, every training at your disposal in your client portal to download and put in your training file or however you store things that we always offer that. And there's a lot of firms now that use the trainings during setup for their new employees. They'll have them watch these videos because it's best trained from the source than it is through multiple interpretations that have happened in the firm and then it's not happening how it should. So,
Yep.
all right. So now the next one is from team leadership, we're going to shift to career growth and role success. I boiled this down to what does success look like in my role and how can I build the skills and mindset to reach it? This kind of piggybacks off that. Some of the specific questions were what do you recommend to be successful in my role? How do I learn from mistakes and feedback? And any tips for personal growth or communication? I am going to let Beth, once we're done with this topic, actually address those three things because this is right in her wheelhouse. So, success comes from clarity, skill building, and mindset. Understanding expectations, exploring learning opportunities, and reflecting on feedback helps you grow. If your first reaction when you get feedback from a client, from a team member, from your boss, from the attorney, if your first reaction is defensive and trying to explain it very quickly, then I would encourage you to reflect a little bit. Listen to what they have to say. Maybe what you're thinking that in your defense mode is true, but maybe you're going to miss why they're bringing it up. So you want to break down those walls that you're holding up to defend yourself. I'm not saying don't defend yourself in your role, but I am saying never lose an opportunity to grow from somebody else as well. Listen, internalize, and accept what they have to say. You can absolutely say, you know what, I did take care of that or this or that, but it's also okay to say you're right when somebody says something. You're going to see the maturity of your firm grow, the success, and the client experience when we start internalizing these personal growth patterns. Curiosity is critical. Exploring the legal tech landscape, best practices, or Lawmatics tips strengths your role impact or strengthens your role's impact. Always be curious. Never lose the curiosity. Always want to learn. They always say, learn something new every day. Do that. Um, just never lose your curiosity for growing as a person. Adopting a growth mindset is key. Take ownership of your development, experiment with new strategies, and intentionally shape your trajectory. The combination of learning, practice, and reflection will create consistent improvement in your role for the firm. So, Beth, I am going to let you go here and look at those three questions as well, and talk about that.
Yeah. So I will tell you that the absolute best part of my job, believe it or not, is watching people grow and watching people do this exact thing and learn from mistakes and feedbacks and experience that personal growth. That is the best part of it. And being able to, first of all, how can you be successful in your role? You need to have a very clear description of what your role is. And so that is important. And, that is important from a management standpoint that they define that to you. And if you don't have that, that you actually define your role. And it's fine to define your role, take it to management and say, is this my role? Is this what you're expecting of me? Because I want to make sure I'm meeting what I'm supposed to be doing. And so that is very important. So you can't be successful if you don't know what it is. So that absolutely. And then you can focus on parts of your role to make those improvements. And that's going to vary, unfortunately, for firm to firm. Um, some firms greatly value improvement. And so you making improvements to processes and things like that to a firm like that is going to calculate to success in that firm. Um, Other firms don't want anybody rocking the boat. So you trying to move forward is not going to calculate to success unless you can give proven outcomes for that. So that is very important, knowing your role and knowing what is expected of you in your environment. And then learning from mistakes and feedback. One, you need to have the feedback first. You need to listen to the feedback, you need to have it. And even if it's hard to hear, even if it's not something you want to hear, and you need to accept who you are. Like I've totally accepted that I am completely straightforward, and if you want touchy-feely, make you feel good, talk to John. If you want straight shooter, talk to me. That's just the way it is. That's how I am. I've accepted that. That's who I am. I'm not mean most times. No, I'm not mean. But really that is what it is. And you need to, know who you are, first of all, and then you can listen to that feedback from people and you can use that to move forward. So there is a bit of humility in there because you need to be able to be humble and listen to what you're being told. So that's the only way really you can learn from those mistakes is to accept them and then you can move forward. And that really is the personal growth is knowing who you are as a person. And we've talked before about the personality test because they're very revealing and they tell you things that you may not know about yourself. Using those, knowing who you are, knowing what your role is, and how to make that successful. And just, hey, not everything's going to work. And being able to say, well, I tried that and that didn't work. And now we're on to this. And that's just how it works. It really sounds simple and it kind of is. Knowing who you are, knowing your role, and being humble enough to say, yep, I messed up. And here we go. And we're trying again. Yep. You're muted.
Whoops. And just very quickly, can you explain why us as a legal technology company is talking about emotions,
Hmm.
heart connections, personal growth, why we had Dr. Carey on here talking about emotional situations in the workplace? Can you just quickly explain why we do that?
Yeah, for one, it makes our job easier. Just just flat out it does. Because if you have somebody who is frustrated in their job and they're really high stressed and everything else, yes, we can put automations in place, we can put systems in place, we can do all of this stuff to lighten their workload. But if they are not happy, it doesn't matter what we do to them. And it doesn't matter what, we're not going to get feedback from them because they are just a miserable person. And you cannot, miserable people don't move forward. And that's quite honestly why it is. You can have, I have seen firms that are just so successful, but you have absolutely miserable people in there. And it doesn't go to the client, but the thing is, they don't move forward. And after a while, that success just starts to diminish off because they're not moving forward. And they're not moving forward because people aren't happy and people don't want to make change and people are miserable. And it's just not, it doesn't work for them. So it really is a holistic approach to a law firm. Although I never thought I would actually say those words together, but it is a holistic approach to the law firm, and it is all part of buy-in. You can't get miserable people to buy in. They don't want to. And they will drag everything down and everything will fail and fall apart. So it is really a whole holistic approach. That's why we do it.
And we can't move forward with a project successfully when the project coordinator we're working with is ready to jump off a cliff. So we
Correct.
have to talk them off of that edge to get
Yeah.
them back on track with the buy-in so we can move forward with the project. So it really is because change is hard, especially dramatic change from a very
Oh yeah.
static system to a very automated system. The brain
Yes.
shift is astronomical and it is going to cause a lot of emotions. And that's why we're there for that as well. We are not counselors, we are not psychiatrists, but we can be human.
Right. Yeah. And when you're making that huge shift, because we have a couple firms that we've taken from literally keeping track of things in Microsoft Word and Excel to going to a fully automated system. Okay, so they're making that complete transition from there to there. Attitude is everything. When you have when you have people who are aware of themselves, they know their role, and they are bought in and they're ready to make it, that it goes so smooth. And it is a beautiful thing. When you have people who are constantly frustrated, throwing up their hands, all that stuff, and you can't get their buy-in, that's not it's miserable. It's a very long, drawn out process and it's miserable. Um, that doesn't mean you need to go fire those people, just to be clear. But we can help them by saying, let's all look at who we are as people. Let's all figure out who we are as people. This is your strength. Go for their strength and support their strength. And then you end up with a team who can move forward and can build out things. And as I said, then that makes our job so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. This next part, I was going to talk about client engagement and retention, but I think
Mhm.
we've actually talked about this before. So I am going to buzz through that and I'll probably cover it in our Wednesday tech blog that you get.
Yeah.
Um, I'll probably touch on this, but I do want to highlight why we talk about Lawmatics so much. Because when you think about your tech ecosystem, here is a common set or ecosystem that we hear from clients on what they have. Action step, then they have Calendly for scheduling, ActiveCampaign for marketing or MailChimp, DocuSign for getting your engagement agreements, Connect SMS because it adds the SMS feature to a lot of these different systems, um, and then web form software, and many times a few more. Those are all things that Lawmatics has built in into their one platform. So here's a big reason because it's a forward motion. It is a fully automated system, and now they're moving into really, really cool AI that is valuable. Um, and I want to show you of the monthly cost difference for things like this of why we talk about Lawmatics because of its features and its cost. $99 a month gets you all of this with Lawmatics per user versus the other ecosystem that I just talked about. I actually did the math, and depending on some of the levels in different platforms, it was about $484 to $524 a month per user. for all of those things to do what Lawmatics can do natively within their own system. It's based on one user, comparable monthly subscriptions. So I just want to put that tie-in there. Go ahead, Beth.
Yep. I do want to say one thing about that. Is when it isn't all about cost either. Um,
Correct.
a lot of times we look at this and yeah, the cost number is pretty huge, and sometimes we're even surprised at what firms are paying for things. But that is not even a big part of it. When you have all of these systems that you need to connect together to do things, when you do all of that, um, all of those connections can break. One system can, change one little thing, and now your zaps between them don't work anymore. And you're like all of this other stuff starts going haywire, and then it's tracking down and fixing things. And so you need to talk to us a lot more. And quite honestly, I don't like that because I want you to be moving forward, not having to fix things all the time. So that is what comes into it. Like you don't need to be constantly lining all of this stuff up and making sure that it all works correctly and everything else when your one system's just handling it for you and going. So that is really a big part of it above and beyond the cost, although the cost is something tangible that you can look at. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I did that. So you could see the dramatics of being able to do that exact same thing within Lawmatics. And it's a one-stop shop.
Right. Yep.
Okay. I want to give you an actionable item you can implement today. I want you to pick one workflow that feels repetitive or error prone to human touch. I'm not even going to give you an example of it. I want you to then think and brainstorm what you can do to simplify that with the systems you have in place. Even one automated thing that you can implement can save you hours and hours and reduce the errors, and you'll see the client experience improve. So that is your homework for this week. Pick one thing that is just redundant and figure out a way to automate it. Go to ChatGPT, ask it some questions, get some ideas, and formulate something that works for you. If you don't know where to start, if you sign up with us right away, we actually are doing a thing where we can implement most of your intake by New Year's, giving your firm a strong 2026 start. So, just understanding your client's journey and building engagement at every step is just as important as internal efficiency. You need to just streamline everything for your peace of mind and the client experience. Leadership and team development are equally critical. Never forget about that. Sometimes we get so busy that we forget. Let's have some trainings. Let's close for a day and have our quarterly retreat where we regenerate. It could be going over business goals. It could be going out for the day, getting breakfast. It could be going to play mini golf. Then you're going to go bowling and just spending the day rejuvenating as a team during business hours. I want to be very clear on that. But if any of this resonates, were you going to say something, Beth?
No, I was just laughing at your during business hours.
Yes. Just keep things during business hours.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you may be the most amazing manager. Employees don't want to do things after work for the most part.
right.
They just don't. They have families. So just respect that. Keep it to a minimum, things like that. But if any of this resonates with you, we can help you implement actually all of these strategies, and you'll see measurable improvements in your firm. Um, Most of an intake process we can have in by New Year's, positioning your firm for an efficient, high performing start to 26. You can schedule a free discovery meeting with us, and we can analyze where you're at and where you can go. We never charge for discoveries. And I want to also remind you to grab your phone right now, I'm going to put up a QR code, and this is, you're going to see all my screen junk, but that's okay. Where'd the QR code? There it is. There's the QR code to register for the Lawmatics Basics Showcase, where I'm just going to show you how to use Lawmatics. Whether you use Lawmatics or you don't, you want to see how it works, or you just want to improve your skills in Lawmatics, sign up. Next Thursday, 1 o'clock Mountain, 3 o'clock Eastern. So I'll leave that up for a second. And that is what I have. I'm going to stop recording and we'll go to open Q&A for a few minutes.